Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, Kaustubha. Welcome to our show. This is our daily yoga podcast where we study the sacred literature of India, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered the highest book of all the Vedic teachings because it deals exclusively with the liberation of the soul from material entanglement. What do you think about that? And today's our special day. It's Thursday, which is Questions Day. If anyone's got a good song we could play, that's questions. We'll play that song, but we're sort of like hitting our head against the wall, thinking about good classic question song. But we write in, all the Patreon people write in their questions, and on Thursday we try to answer as many as we can, and we try to zip through it because you can get lost in some of these, but for the most part we're doing pretty good. How are you doing on lockdown, Kaustubha? We're in quarantine. Oh no, are you not getting a microphone? Oh, you're muted. I muted Kaustubha. How did I do that? Kaustubha, you there? Unmute Kaustubha.
Okay, I'm back. It's something weird's going on when I mute myself. I get like, I can't unmute myself now today. Somehow this.
You know why? Because I have it on. Don't let them unmute themselves in fear of the crazy we might get one day signing into Zoom where they're going to go, "Wah!" and just start screaming things. So I like never let them unmute themselves.
But you haven't been doing that before.
Panel here.
Yeah, because I mute myself like when we chant opening mantras or different things like that, because otherwise the camera doesn't know where to go.
Yeah, well, I can't trust any of these people. Who knows what they're going to do? Well, there could be one rogue, insane person out there. I don't know everybody. I know a few people here.
All right. So what was your question? Day. How am I doing under lockdown, you asked?
Yeah, how are you doing under lockdown?
I'm getting a little, I'll be honest, I am getting, I'm the kind of guy that likes to get out. I live in a small apartment, and just by nature, I like to get out and wander like every day. I walk a lot.
So can you get out?
I have been getting out, but, I'll be honest, it's hard to get it to really get everyone's advising be cautious, and I'm wondering, you go out there to Central Park and like everybody's running around that track, like breathing, huffing and puffing like crazy.
Oh.
So I am starting to, I heard that like even this weekend or today or tomorrow, they're going to start to open up streets free of traffic so that people can just kind of get out there and have more room to walk around.
Yeah, New York City bottled up. It's almost a recipe for depression, nervous breakdown.
Yeah. So I'm not there yet, but
now everybody's running upstate. All the infected New Yorkers are coming upstate.
Yeah. You probably won't allow me. You probably won't allow me up there now.
Well, we have an invisible fence. You might get a shock.
Dog shock. The dog collar on me. But otherwise,
you can wave to us outside the fence, and I can leave a package of food for you.
Okay, but factually, I'm really engaged. Doing a lot of. Been doing different things online, for Patreon. I think I'll do some this Saturday or Sunday. I've been doing stuff for the Bhakti Center, been doing stuff, different yoga teacher trainings. So I've been as engaged as I've ever been. And, my wife is always, a delight to be around, and she's handling it real well. And so, I'm okay. But there's something in me that as these days go by, I know I'm going to be like, particularly as the weather starts to get nice, it's going to be like, man, got to get out there.
Yeah. It is one of these things. Someone sent me a video of Vrindavan this morning, and it was like completely peaceful with not a car on the road. And it's amazing. It's actually amazing when like what we're doing with this planet when we're just doing what we do. It's so disturbing. And when we're just not doing, like, how peaceful the planet would be without humans.
Yeah. Or, for me, it's like without traffic, without cars, how nice the city is without cars.
Yeah.
Cars just screw the whole thing up. It's one thing that we, like, say in Manhattan, we pack people up so high, and that's unnatural. But even that is I'm cool with if there was no car traffic. The city would be so nice.
I've said the same thing about New York City as I've said about Vrindavan. Build massive parking garages.
Yeah.
No cars allowed except for a delivery day. And that's it. Do I have to do everything? Do I have to be like the city planner?
You do. We need you, Raghu. Raghu for mayor of Vrindavan.
I will be the mayor of Vrindavan. I think I do a good job. I do better who's ever doing it there now.
Yeah, but
then you go for mayor of New York. I'll go for mayor of Vrindavan.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Thanks for everybody who joined us yesterday. I'm sorry. I want to thank everybody who joined us yesterday on the Sweet Baby Krishna reading last night. Really sweet. We did the gopis search for Krishna, or Krishna hides from the gopis. It's great.
Shall we dive in?
Let's dive into these questions.
A lot of questions today.
We got a lot of questions, and we're going to start with Sarka from
Hey, before
Prague.
We start, could I just say some quick? Is that we love these questions. We're getting more than we can take on the show for sure. But if you want to make sure that we get it, I'm getting questions from all different channels. I get them on Instagram. I get them on Facebook. I get them in personal letters. I get them. But the best way to send them is if you're on Patreon, we have the questions and answers channel on Discord. Or otherwise write to wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. We know that we won't lose them there. We might lose them through the other channels.
There's so many ways to communicate. It gets confusing.
Yeah.
Did I check my Instagram? Did I check my, Wisdom of the Sages Instagram, my personal Instagram, my emails? It's too crazy. So we're just keeping those channels open mainly. Wisdom of the Sages 108 at Gmail. And if you go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. And do they how does that work? Do they automatically get on Discord as soon as they join that, or they have to opt in for that?
They automatically get the option to join Discord.
Okay. So when you do that, when you join patreon.com/wisdom of the sages, then you join Discord, and that's where we do all our meetings. I guess we should be telling people that. Maybe Mara does. What do you think? Do people know that?
Do people know what?
To join Discord?
I'm not sure. Maybe what we should do is we should make sure that they get a letter immediately, some kind of message when they sign up to Patreon that they can do that.
Okay.
Okay. So Nikhila is saying that it pings you immediately when you join up. Thank you, Nikhila.
Okay. Okay. So cool. So Sarka asked a nice question. Struggling. Namaste, teachers. I have a question I've been struggling for days to come up with to answer. Should it be considered selfish or ignorant to wish for just pure love with another human being? Is the fact that if Krishna brings a person into our life with whom you really connect with on many levels, even on spirituality and love of God, and then all of a sudden takes them away from you, a sign, or is it a lesson to tell you that the only and most important and purest love you need is to have God only? As much selflessly and rationally I am trying to find a higher meaning for this, I'm having a hard time to fully understand. As a person who never wanted anything else than pure love, but never even got a chance to experience it, to be absorbed in giving it other than to family, friends, and God, with no materialistic or sense-gratifying desire. I'm okay with putting this question into question day. Okay, so that's a good question. A lot of times people come up to me with love questions. It's very common. It seems like everything was working out. This person was spiritually minded. I was spiritually minded. And then all of a sudden she left me or he left me. My simple advice is the next person you date should have a peacock feather in his hair, ankle bells, a yellow sash, and a flute tucked into the sash. That's my simple advice. The next person you fall in love with should be a butter thief. You got to keep it pretty simple. if you start falling in love with other people before you fall in love with him, it's sort of backwards. Develop your first main devotion to Krishna. And that what'll happen is it'll recalibrate your desires for who you'll even let in. There's a tendency that we get so lonely in the material world that we will let anybody in our life. We find somebody who thinks we're a little attractive, or somebody who validates us, or somebody who just laughs at our joke, somebody who likes a photo or 3 photos, and they like 10. I'm just going to put out there to ladies, any guy who's liking your photos a lot, just unfriend them. Just unfriend them immediately. I find those people like predators. Like, stop liking all my stuff unless you're dead serious about me. Start liking, because guys can just like everything. I like everything. Don't think they're exclusively liking your stuff. They're liking everybody's stuff. It's just like a marketplace. Treat yourself with very, very high standards. We are spiritual souls. We are evolved spiritual beings. We might be covered in Maya, but we are all pure spirit souls. Don't let any knucklehead in your life who just likes your stuff or gives you a little validation. Don't settle for crumbs. You deserve a big, beautiful cake. Okay? Don't settle for crumbs. Only let people in your life and get them in your life when you feel like you feel already spiritually connected. So that's my first thing. Once you have that high standard, I only want these people in my life, then it's by the way, that's going to narrow the gate for sure. But better to work out those problems before you are already in a relationship, it's going on, and then you start to find yourself and you realize, oh, I really wanted a person who was a vegetarian or a vegan, or I really wanted a person who was more simple and not more materialistic, or I wanted to have kids, or I wanted a person who wanted to raise our children with the same faith or the same open-mindedness. People sometimes go through that all the time when they get into their spiritual path later. So if you're not attached to anybody, if you're dating, it's a great time to really think of who is the person you want in your life. There is no good straight answer because a lot of it's dealt with karmically. We sometimes re-meet a person that has sort of been out there that we maybe dated for lifetimes or married for lifetimes. So a lot of times we think we're controlling and things like we're controlling the environment, but a lot of times astrologically, there's people that will come with us to meet with us. But the best advice I could give is get very, very connected to your spiritual path first. And you know what? Even in your marriage, and even in your family, Krishna's your real husband. Even for you men, Krishna's your husband. Men out there, Krishna's your real husband. It's just what it is. Because even if you have a perfect relationship, everything's working smoothly, this is my soulmate, guess what? One of you is going to die. And even though ultimately we can't really possess a person. So we have to make sure we are connected. And then when we're connected, we can give love to other people. How's that? I hope that's okay. I hope that doesn't sound depressing. Kaustubha, are you there?
I'm here. I like your answer, and I appreciate Sarka's profound thought that if I have someone in my life that I'm getting close with, and then suddenly they're gone, can that be a sign or a lesson that the only most important and purest love you need is for God only? And I do think that we can interpret things like that in life. But it's wonderful if we can have a partner in life that can share our values, that we can be very close with, that we can support each other, and that's great. Sometimes that works out just right. Sometimes it doesn't. We don't know exactly why, but we can always try to interpret it in such a way that it becomes the impetus to come closer to God. So I just wanted to share that. And one last thing is, Sarka, you're still young. You will find love out there, Sarka, I believe.
Yeah, Friday, Kaustubha, I forgot to mention, Friday is going to be arranged marriage day, where I'm going to pick everybody from Zoom and just randomly pick you. No, I'll think about it. I'm just going to start marrying you to other people on Zoom. It might
Okay.
be across the world. You might have to travel to Prague, to Switzerland, to Germany.
Is
But
that part
don't
of the
worry, we're going to
mayor's?
take it. It's just one-stop shopping here at Wisdom of the Sages.
Okay, good. All right. Question number 2.
Yeah,
This
take
is
it.
coming from Bhakti Ed.
Bhakti Ed's very active on our
Bhakti Ed's got a
message.
lot of questions, and also, but it's kind of backed up by Heather. So Bhakti Ed's question was, I've seen T-shirts with deities or the holy names on them. Is this an offense, like to wear that shirt? Is this an offense, or is it awesome worship? Should these items of clothing be handled differently than standard apparel? And then Heather follows up, this, I believe, is quite dialectical. I have heard both sides. It's awesome and it's offensive for the past 5 years. Maybe we can get a solid answer. Heather, I don't know if this answer is going to be solid enough for you because I do think there's 2 sides to this one. But to me, it brings up an important question or an important thought. So just to be clear, that someone may wear a shirt, say it has a picture of Krishna on it. Now, do we see that image of Krishna as being very sacred? And, then when I throw that in the hamper, it's getting like, it's right, up against my underwear, my socks, or when I wear it into the bath, some people say, don't wear those images on your shirt because in a sense, you'll be disrespecting them. And other people say, no, it's great to wear that shirt. When I wear it, I think of God. Other people see it, they get turned on to it. So the main point I want to address is that when it comes to yoga, whether it be chanting a mantra, doing a ritual, following some form of etiquette, whatever it might be, it's always designed to have a particular effect on the mind. And that's its purpose, how it affects our mind. Like for instance, if I wear a picture of Lord Shiva on my t-shirt, he's going to be just fine either way, whatever happens. Like if if it ends up against my socks, or if it, he's situated perfectly well. But the question is, how does it affect my mind if I treat that image in a particular way? Right. And so therefore there's certain things in all spiritual traditions where, there's certain, whether it be a certain objects, like a lot of Catholics, when we pass by a church, you would, what do you call that again? Genuflect. You genuflect. I believe that's what it's called.
No, is that what it's called?
I believe so. You make the sign of the cross, because when I pass that building, I always want to, in my heart, in my mind, I want to honor it, and honor God in that way. So, God is going to be fine whether you do that or not. But the question is that by doing that, it has an effect on my mind. And so that's important, and therefore how we relate to certain images can become relevant. It becomes relevant in our practice to how it affects our minds. Like for instance, in India, if you touch someone with your foot, right, it's considered to be very
offensive, rude.
Yeah, it's socially, it's very unacceptable, and it's considered very disrespectful to do it intentionally. So if you do it unintentionally, then the etiquette is that you would touch that person and then touch your head like that. Like, it's just a sign, like, I touched you with my foot. Now I want to put my head to you. Like, it's kind of, instead of me putting my head on you, I touch you and I put it to my head like that. So it's like, I unintentionally disrespected you. Now I want to intentionally respect you, because within your body is your soul, the spark of pure spiritual energy. Within your body is the Paramatma. I've touched it with my foot. I want to always respect you as a soul. I always want to respect Paramatma in my mind. So I do this little ritual to honor that. And so when it comes to and therefore within spiritual texts, there'll be books that are dedicated to kind of saying, like, laying out how you should deal with things like that, what's right and what's wrong. Like for instance, the Hari Bhakti Vilas in our tradition is a book that will say that, you know, we'll lay out some rules for this, but I don't know of any rules for t-shirts that are officially there, you know. So that's the one that we're going to have to figure out ourselves. One thing I think about is Harinam chatters, you know, these shawls, I guess you would call them, that have, you know, often they have the Maha Mantra, different mantras printed on them, and they become fashionable. People wear them as, you know, to be fashionable. But, you know, I was trained that you never, for instance, let them touch the ground. You never wear them below the waist. You don't carry them into the bathroom. You know, it really, like that chatter was something that, like, when you sit down to chant your mantras, when you sit down to chant your japa, you wrap yourself in that chatter. In a sense, like you're wrapping yourself in the holy name. That the effect that has on the mind, that I'm going to sit down and chant, I'm going to wrap myself in this chatter and chant. And so, you know, should someone wear a Harinam chatter for fashion? I have no problem with that, but you might want to think, you know, carefully, like, will this be an item that will transform me spiritually, or am I just wearing it for fashion? And with t-shirts, I think it's, in one sense, it's up to you. It's up to the individual, but it's something to think about, you know. It's something to think about. Do I want to have a special sense of care for sacred images? Maybe I just want to broadcast them to the world. Maybe I want to be careful and not do something that in some way weakens my reverence for that image. I'll leave it there. You have thoughts on that, Raghu?
My first thought is, I apologize. There's such a bad lag. I don't know if people are hearing that lag as bad as I am. Give me a hand signal. I was having a problem hearing you, but I think I got, for the most part, your intention is everything. Also, there is no clear answer.
There is no clear answer. You're on your own.
I don't wear a lot of deity shirts, but sometimes I'll have a Harinam chatter. But I've also been corrected in Vrindavan. Don't bow down, especially if you're bowing down with all these things, then it's even more peculiar. I don't know. I like seeing, like, when we used to print shelter shirts with pictures of Jagannath or Vishnu, and I like it. I think it spreads the holy name in beautiful ways.
So neither is wrong or right, but just try to...
It's just like a tattoo. Is a tattoo offensive? You'd go to the bathroom with the tattoo on.
You're asking me? I'll give you the same answer.
It's a hypothetical question.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Okay. When it comes to controlling the lower urges, how does one begin to do that? I've been chanting and meditating more, especially when I find these urges arise, but I'm hoping to find more ideas as to what I can do. You know, this is a great one. If we're wired in, oftentimes urges have nothing to do with the urge themselves, right? People don't have sex sometimes because they're have lust. Sometimes they have sex because they're angry or they're frustrated or they're hungry, right? What's that acronym? Hungry, angry.
I don't know that one.
It's hungry,
Is it
ALT.
hate?
No, it's halt.
Oh.
Hungry, angry. What's L? Lazy? No, not lonely, lazy, and tired. So if you're experiencing any of these urges of the lower chakras, check it out and see if those are coming up. And if you can question, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? And then start to realize, what are you medicating that with instead of just feeling that emotion? We want to start to notice our emotions, and we become emotionally dead. You know, I'm a little bored and I just look at my phone, or I'm a little, we do it with food. We just snack, put things in our mouth. That's why when you're fasting also, emotions come up more than some physical health than we're getting a type of mental health when you fast, because you're also dealing with emotions. Same thing when we're in the confines of our home during a quarantine. Emotional things come up that are going to be, that if we can deal with in a healthy way, they become purged. So that's one thing I would say. Notice where these things are coming from. Also, your thoughts and your media. Notice if you're putting in things that are agitating lower urges. If you're consuming lots of media that's just just regular cultural media, expect it. Expect lower urges to be that button to be pushed. Because culture has no boundaries. So we're trying to sort of like refine our boundaries of all the things that we consume because we find it gives us more peace. Also, also for sure, it's the company that you keep. That's one thing. You want to continue on?
Well, I think you did well there. It's in one sense, our lower urges are stemming from things that we're bringing within through our senses, whether it's things that we see or people that we associate with it or things that we eat or whatever. So if we want, these urges seem so powerful, but if we're careful about what we consume, we can make it a lot easier on ourselves.
Okay, let's go to the next one, Kaustubha. I think you're
all right. So this one came through
going through these questions today.
This one came through YouTube from Ivanovich Romano. I don't know if the name is backwards or first name last, but that's how it's listed on YouTube. Here it is. It says, I really enjoy the show and a lot of things here make sense, but, you ready, Raghu? But my issue is with religion. If God is one and every religion worships him, shouldn't there be only one religion? That fact alone keeps me away from all of them. It seems every religion is just man-made with its own imaginary rules and practices. You said a few times it doesn't matter how you call your God, but how you try to connect with him sure does. So what religion is right and which one is wrong? How does one choose? And by choosing, don't you automatically declare all others wrong? Okay. So that, I can definitely appreciate that. It's like, I think, I don't know whether I should say, I think I would say Romano. I think that's the first name. How Romano is approaching this, there's a logic to it that I can look and see that certainly I see different religions saying that they are the only way, and one seems to be negating the other. It seems like they're making up the rules as they go. There don't always seem to be logical connections to why these rules are necessary. It could even stem suspicions in me like these are created to keep us under control and things like that. So I want to start by saying, like, when we approach things like this, it's helpful for us to say, where's my aversion, like in this case, to religion? Where's my aversion stemming from? Are my arguments against it, are they based on logic or are they based on emotion? And I'm not saying that one is wrong or right, but here we have, I think, some, there's a logical question put forward. If God is one and every religion worships him, shouldn't there be only one religion? This fact alone keeps me away from all of them. So, it may be more nuanced than that. Right? Like, here's a possibility. There's a logic to that, but then one can go deeper. What about the possibility that according to, you have a wide swath of humanity, and that they may approach that same God in different ways, and that the ways that they approach God may vary according to where they're at, right? So then you would have different traditions that are appealing to them, or different ways that they approach within their own tradition. There are different religious traditions, and their followers will interpret them in different ways and practice them in different ways. Relating to what he said about, it seems that every religion is just man-made with its own imaginary rules and practices. I believe that every religion or every spiritual tradition, however we want to say it, is, they're all saying that it's not that we're making this up, but this is coming from God, or this is coming from these sacred texts that go way back, and these are the word of God, and so on. They all have some kind of claim like that. And within our tradition, within the Vedic tradition, there's a statement, I believe it's a Bhagavatam statement, dharmanstu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, that dharma is enunciated by Bhagavan or by God, and that you don't make it up on your own. But at the same time, how these traditions are handed down, they involve humans helping to design, just like a question was asked for me about a t-shirt, and sooner or later someone will come up with an official religious idea about whether or not you should wear those t-shirts. So they become a mix. They're coming from these sources, and then they're blended with how people interpret them and how people apply them. My point would be this. I believe that people could approach God in a variety of ways. That I might approach God through Christianity. I might approach God through Judaism. I might approach God through Native American spirituality. I might approach God through the Vedic text and Bhakti-yogi. And that there may be a common thread that runs through all of these. As a matter of fact, we see common threads, like some people approach God to get the things of this world. Some people approach God to get material or to get freedom from their sufferings of this world. And some people approach God purely for divine love. And the way that I look at the different world religions is that they all have their strengths and they all have their faults. You'll find within the same tradition, like say within Christianity, you'll find like a Southern Baptist slave owner who justifies his lifestyle according to the Bible. And then you'll find a Saint Francis, also following that same Bible, but it's being understood and applied in a very different way. And I would say that one of these is really reaping a powerful yogic transformation, and one maybe not so. So we can look at that whole mess of religion and all the good that it's brought the world and all the harm that it's brought the world, and we could develop a cynicism and just say, I'm going to just walk away from it all. But if we do that, we have to really do some introspection. Am I just being cynical? Am I isolating myself from some very powerful spiritual content that I might get otherwise? Or I could look at the big, say, mess of religion out there and decide, I want to take from it. I want to carefully choose from it what I find makes me a better person. I want to carefully choose to follow those people and those teachings that resonate deeply with me and that I feel will purify my mind and my consciousness and ultimately bring me closer to God. And where I see a mess, where I feel it's been misinterpreted or misapplied, hopefully by my example, I can help become an agent of positive change. So that's kind of the way that I approach it. I believe that's kind of the way that Raghunath approaches it. We see good in religion, we see bad in religion. We try to take the good and use it for good. We try to, and hopefully that can help remedy the bad. I don't know if Raghu, did you disappear, Raghu? Does anyone know where Raghu went? You here? There you are. Where are you, man?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah, but I can't see you.
I've got a really bad signal here. Matter of fact, are you the co-host, Kaustubha? Because
Raghunath, so far you've sounded great and you've looked great the whole show from my end. So just keep going. I haven't.
That's the best compliment I got all day. I sound
you look great.
No, anybody else want to put some? Okay.
Yeah, there's been no problem with the broadcast that I've picked up from your end.
Okay. Question. I was lucky enough to live out 2 very large childhood dreams before my 30th birthday. The first dream was beautiful. I just didn't want it anymore, and I walked away. The second was phenomenal, but this happened and it got cut short. Now, 6 years later, I'm a very different person, having lived out many different lives along the way. I still do both dreams for fun, but now I have no new goal. Sometimes I feel a bit lost. I have no new plan, no new dream. I feel so embarrassed. If we are not to desire material things, how are we to plan to live in the material world? Is it okay to dream big and just give it all back to Krishna in the process? Or do we just let Krishna guide us since he knows what's in our hearts? Or is it like karma thing? I don't know. I don't know. Your thoughts are greatly appreciated. This person wrote anonymously. Good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes, am I being heard by people? Give me some type of,
Yes,
okay.
everything's good.
Okay. So I think it was Aristotle who said the problem with material pursuits is because of three things. One is you want something and you never get it. This can be seen all the time. People are frustrated in the material world. I want to make a certain amount of money. In the music scene, I want my band to become really big and I want to tour the world. I mean, I met so many musicians, but truthfully, in all walks of life, you want something and you don't get it and you're frustrated. Number two, she mentioned the next two. You want something, you get it, but you lose it. That's happened a lot. You get what you want, but you lose the very thing you want. And Sarka sort of said that too. You know, she fell in love with this guy and the guy left. I think that's what she said. But that happens all the time with everybody. Number three is you want it, you get it, but it doesn't live up to your expectations. And that's what this person is also writing. So there is a problem with just material pursuits in that regard. Because we're a spiritual person, even if we get something material that we want, it's futile, it's temporary. Or at best, it just doesn't fit in the God-shaped hole in our heart. We might have the luxury and the ability to do like fantastic things of this material world. The thing is, we're all spiritual beings. So there always will be like this element of boredom deep down. We say, and the wisdom of the sages, we just say it's a very fat, big deal. Okay, I did this, I went here, big deal. So we like, and it's important to have this understanding. This is what this person is driving at. Well, what am I supposed to be doing? And the idea is that our life should be an offering. That it's not just going to affect me in a deep way. It's going to affect everybody in my universe in a deep way. My children, my family, my friends, all the people in my outreach. I want to be here so I can contribute something. Not that I'm just globetrotting around the world trying to enjoy my senses. It'll ultimately leave you a little empty. And I meet all the time people who are very successful, but they never feel like I'm contributing. And it's when we find the big why, the why I'm waking up in the morning, why I'm excited to live. Not that I'm just trying to survive. Thank God it's Friday. Oh my God, it's Monday. If I'm just working to survive, life gets pretty depressing. I want to feel like I'm contributing to this world, to my family, to my community. So yeah, we definitely need this purpose-driven life, but we say more than purpose-driven. We say spiritually purpose-driven, because you don't just want a purpose. You want a benevolent purpose, a spiritually benevolent purpose. Oh, wait, my wife wants to chime in. Follow, she's saying, follow you're going to have to stick your head in here, Bridget. Find your God-given proclivities. This is your dharma.
Don't live someone else's dharma.
Don't try to follow somebody else's dharma. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Thank you. That's right out of the Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, so we have to, that has to be number one on our priority list. What is my contribution? What is my offering? And then when you feel like, no, I know what I'm doing. A lot of you guys feel like, no, I know what I'm doing here. Then you start to feel, how can I refine me so that when I do the exact same thing, I'm a yoga teacher, how can I give a better class? How can I have more substance in the things I teach? How can I be a better parent? By the way, our dharma or our contribution changes. If I have young children, that's going to change when the kids are out of the house, because my main offering is I've got to raise these kids. I've got to be the father, or we have sort of maybe different segments of my life that have importance as well. Kaustubha, did I answer that question properly?
I think you did. And to me, what I took from it, you know, the essence, going straight to the question, was as long as our goals and our dreams are all about our own enjoyment, they end up being empty in the end. And I like that you brought it to the point of it's about, we really find meaning and happiness through some spiritual contribution that we're having, some spiritual purpose. And if we connect to that, you know, there's always another goal beyond this one, and we can find a meaningful life in that kind of engagement.
Kamania says, Bridge, let me see you. Why are you hiding back there? Okay.
Next one.
Okay. Next question.
This is a dual question here. We got Dr. Ed back again.
Okay.
And also Fabio, but they asked a similar question. Dr. Ed asks, what have scripture and the parampara, the lineage, taught about the intention behind chanting the holy name? Is devotion a necessary component for advancement, or is the sound vibration the central piece? Does devotion, i.e. chanting for Krishna or chanting to commune with Krishna, increase the power of the chanting? Okay. And then Fabio asks, I have been chanting for years, but I doubt that I'm getting the full benefits from the sound vibration of the Maha Mantra, as I can't roll my R properly. My whole family can't. I find it hard to pronounce, and the sound that comes out is like a cowboy sound. I don't know exactly what that sounds like. You know, Raghu? Cowboy sound in R?
Cowboy sound? Cowboy?
Yep. Any suggestion? I don't know. Any suggestion, experience regarding this? Thank you in advance. Thank you, Fabio. We love Fabio. Okay. So
Fabio's listened to the show, I think, every day.
Yeah.
He's another. He's hardly live.
Right.
But he's every day, almost before, for like a year before the show. There's a bunch of people who are the others. We call the others those who aren't on Zoom. We call them the others. And then we have live on Zoom, and then we have live if they're in the room with us. But there's certain of you that have been with this even before it was this, which was all of last year, when it was just this. What do we call it?
Sacred Sangha. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, you know, Bhakti asks, is devotion a necessary component for advancement? Absolutely, it is the necessary component, much more so than the proper pronunciation. Although we should try to pronounce properly, and that goes to Fabio's question. Fabio's saying, I have difficulty pronouncing it properly. My immediate answer to that would be, you pronounce it as well as you can, but the most important thing is the devotion. So this brings up a question, and it's a within the Vedic context, there's two terms. One is called Varnavad, and one is called Svotavad. Right? And so Varnavad means that the power lies within the letters of the language, the precise, the precision in pronunciation. Whereas Svotavad means it has more to do with the context in which something's being heard, that the power is conveyed. So for instance, like in computer language, you can type, like if you want to type in a URL to pull up a website, it has nothing to do with your intention. It has everything to do with the precision in which you put each character, type each character in. And even if your intention is entirely good, one wrong character and you won't go to the website that you want to go to. Right. So that's Varnavad. It's all about that. And within the Vedic context, particularly, and when I say Vedic, I mean strictly in the sense of, like, if you go back to the 4 Vedas and you're performing ritual that requires mantra chanting to get material things of this world, then it's said that the precision in the chanting is essential. And so in the rituals, they would have 4 priests, and one would be chanting the mantras, and another priest would be dedicated just to make sure the pronunciation is right. And if he screws something up, he stops everything and says, let's do this one again. Right. because it's all about the precision. But then when you get to the Puranas and you get to the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's presenting a different mood. Now we're not talking about the karma kunda, the karma section of the Vedas that are about getting material things. Now it's about I'm approaching God for love. And when you approach God for love, then it's the intention that matters, right? It's the intention that becomes essential. So it's not like the computer and you get one thing wrong and you know, I just mistyped that one thing and that screws up the whole thing. Here, it's about the intention. So just like I might say something to Raghunath and I may mispronounce the word, but he knows what I mean. You know, he knows what I mean. And then, so we just, he gets the meaning, you know. You know,
The intention of the child.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Like a child may mispronounce something, but the parent knows what the child wants and needs and responds to that exactly as if the child had pronounced it correctly.
He points to the sink. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
The father's not going to scream at the child, you better pronounce it correctly.
Yeah. Right.
The loving parent understands the intention of the child.
Exactly.
And truthfully, this is why I love Bhakti, because even though I respect and, you know, admire, look up to all the Vedic teachings, there is this very refined precision, almost like a clinical type of precision with the Sanskrit language, with rituals. It was just like Radha Swami came to me in Kaustubha and he said, we want you to, he wants us to start doing the weddings.
Like the ritual around them.
People.
Yeah.
It was interesting getting an order from Radha Swami. And my first thing was, oh, Maharaj, there's so many mantras they do and mudras they do that I'm not sure of. I don't know. You want me to go and find someone to learn all these mudras and mantras? He said, they're all very beautiful, but you don't need to do that. It's that intention behind it. Keep it very, very simple. Prabhupada kept it very simple. And truthfully, I think it's the essence of all our stories. When we read Krishna book, is that intention is so powerful. Krishna understands the intention behind it.
Yeah. If you're approaching him, he relaxes everything. If you're approaching him for love, everything's relaxed. If you're approaching him for material things, then you're operating under different laws that are just all set, and you can operate under those. And you know, I always think of that Brady Bunch. Now, you say you were raised on television, Raghu, right?
Yeah.
But there's that Brady Bunch where the eldest son, he gets punished. He can't drive the car. And then there's some big concert and some date that he's supposed to go on. And his friend is saying, you're going to go, you know? And he's like, well, I can't drive the car. And he says, well, you can use my car. So then he drives his friend's car and goes, and then his parents say, didn't we say that you couldn't drive? He said, no, your exact words. That. Do you remember that, Raghu? You remember that?
We're becoming, what do you call it? We're becoming that old generation that's referring to TV shows that no one's ever watched before except us.
Right. Well, no, anybody our age has watched. Right. So anyway, they say he says to the parents, no, your exact words were you can't drive the car, meaning like our car. I drove a different car. And they say, okay, if that's the way you want to go, then we'll live by that system now. That's the Varnavad system. Rather than the Svotavad, he wanted the Varnavad system, right? And
maybe put those up on the board. Those are great words to know.
Sure, yeah. And so then what happens is he found that living in that world became very difficult. You know, he went through one kind of problem after another, having to live in that world. And what Krishna says is, you don't have to live in that world. If you approach me for love, then it's the intention that matters. It's not the precision. And there's a story of Srila Prabhupada where, you know, because his disciples didn't grow up in the culture. They were hippies from the West, and then he brought them to Vrindavan. And sometimes the strict brahmanas would criticize them, say their pronunciation is no good, you know. And what Prabhupada would say is their pronunciation may not be good, but their application is good. You know, how they apply it all. They're very sincere, and it's that sincerity that matters most. So, you know, Varnavad means by the letter Svotavad. Actually, the word Svota means explosion, and what it means is just like at a certain point you get it, and the meaning explodes in your mind, you know, like if someone's telling a joke and if there's 4 people that get the reference, but one person that doesn't. So then when they say the punchline, it explodes in everyone's mind, the meaning of it.
Interesting.
Whereas if someone doesn't know the reference, then the explosion never takes place, right? But that has to do with communication that can go beyond the precise pronunciation. It's about getting, and so therefore, to Fabio's question, Fabio, you know, I believe like large sections of Asia can't pronounce the R correctly. You know, like I'd imagine practically large sections of the entire world were not precisely pronouncing that Mahamantra correctly. But if we're approaching Krishna with devotion, if we're approaching Krishna for love, then just like Raghunath gives a very, very good analogy, that just like if your child comes and asks you for water but mispronounces it, you're going to provide the water. You know, you're going to understand the meaning, and Krishna will understand our meaning. So devotion is the most important.
Someone asked this last
time.
question. I have a question about karma. What exactly do bhakti practitioners believe about the whole concept of karma? I understand in part that we're not trying to do things to try to swing the balance of karma one way or the other, but I don't understand the broader sense of it in terms of how it has affected our being here and over and over. So we don't have so much time, but in simple, we have some karma. We have some karma that we have to deal with. In the truest sense, we got what we got. Just like you have children and one kid wants the blue one kid wants the red one kid wants the yellow one. And the father or mother says, you get what you get and don't be upset. That's what you got. Don't fight. You got what you got. That's our karma. We got some karma. What are we going to do about that karma now? I was born not so short, not so tall, not so intelligent, not so strong, right? I've got all these strikes again. What am I going to do with that? Am I going to use that to raise my consciousness, or am I going to use that to degrade myself? So we all got some karma. What are we going to do with that karma? Some people feel like they have to do all these things astrologically, metaphysically to counteract their karma. We're not so into that unless you have some massive blockage. You might look into things like that. That's problematic with your maybe spiritual life. But we all are going to get some karma, both good or bad. How we react to that karma, that's what's going to either upgrade us or degrade us. Sometimes these people can read your astrological chart and they say, you're going to have a miserable year, right? A good astrologer will just say, he'll see all these problems, conflicts in relationship, in wealth, in health, and they'll say, this can be a great year for you to dive deeper into your spiritual life. So there's just different ways to see the same thing. What do you think, Kaustubha? I think that might be our thing. I hope that was. I
think you did well, and you know, I want to say that for weeks there's been a series of questions from Adam Lee that relate to what you just said, and I want to make sure next week or maybe in some show before that we get to it, because his question, he would still have his questions after hearing your answer, which I think was a great answer, but I want to deal with his questions too. So
interesting thing and a complicated thing, karma, but
yeah.
We got some karma. Guess what?
That's it. Another one for the books.
We tried question day, tried our best. If you got more questions, you can write in on our message board on Discord for the other Patreon members, patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. And thanks everybody for your support. It makes a massive difference. Also, if you want to be on Zoom and you're hearing this on Apple Podcasts, contact wisdom of the sages 108@gmail.com. I think we just expanded our Zoom numbers so more people can join. They've been getting locked out after 100. That being said, in the confines of your own house, put your hands together and start to clap. This is an important part of the day. This is the day. This is the time we can actually transcend our body right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please make sure you give us a 5-star rating. It really makes a difference. Write a comment. If you're listening on YouTube, you can write a comment. And thanks for everybody who joined later that I didn't get to welcome. Bruna G and Anyone else? I can't see. I'm just gonna clap. And also, if you're on Zoom, we like it if you take that black cloak off so we can see you. And all you frozen faces, we like to see you because we like, especially at this time, you've had 1 hour at least to wake up, and now we want to just see you dance here.
Look at Akiko with Radharani in the background.
Other people's inspiration. What's that costume?
You see Akiko with Radharani behind her?
Yeah, I don't know how. I gotta figure out. Kiko's the master of this stuff. Cricket, let's see those little girls dance. Come on. Yep, there she goes. Shri